On this channel, we've quite often spoken about magic systems, about magical items, about the history of magic and religion and magic and all kinds of other things. But an interesting question is, how do people in your world learn magic, or any other skill for that matter? Do you have schools? Is it a Master-Apprentice system, or is it something else entirely? The way skills are passed down generation to generation can have a profound effect on your world. And that's what I want to explore today. Welcome to another episode of Just in Time Worlds with your host, Marie Mullany. This video has been available to members of my channel for some weeks already. So if you like what I do here and you want early access to my videos, get yourself a Wood membership to the channel for €7 a month. And thank you very much to my current Wood members and those members who support me on Ko-fi. Okay, let's get cracking. The first system we should talk about is the Master-Apprentice system. This is probably one of the oldest techniques of passing knowledge along that we have in our world. Indeed, Jane M. All uses a modified version of the Master-Apprentice system, and her world is set in the Stone Ages. So what is this system? Basically, you have an older person who has great skill and a younger person who is apprenticed to them to learn the skills of the trade. The apprentice pays for their tuition, usually by means of their labor, although sometimes some money will also be required. This type of system often leads to guilds, a topic that I explore more in my video on craft guilds, which you can check out in the information card. What impact does this type of education have on your world and your characters? In a master and apprentice systems, the mentor-student relationship is not just about teaching spells and magical techniques. It is an intimate bond that shapes the apprentice's worldview, ethics, and understanding of their magical abilities. In this system, the apprentices often reflect their mentor's approach to magic, adopting their philosophies and sometimes their prejudices. This profound impact makes mentors very important figures, often serving as the moral compass or source of inspiration for their apprentices. The relationship dynamics between the master and apprentice could add a lot of drama and conflict to your narrative. To illustrate, let's take a look at some examples. In Jim Butcher's The Dresden Files, Harry Dresden learns from his master, Justin de Morn. Justin taught Harry to control his magic and introduced him to the supernatural world, but he was also manipulative and attempted to enthrall Harry. This tumultuous relationship and the resulting fallout had a significant influence on Harry's personality and his approach to magic, and even his wariness towards authority. Justin's influence is a constant in Harry's life, guiding his decisions and actions long after Justin's demise. When Harry takes on his own apprentice, we can see him consciously shearing away from Justin's teaching techniques, sometimes to the detriment of his apprentice's progress in magic. This kind of contrast between Harry the student and Harry the teacher is one of the more fascinating aspects of the Dresden Files. Of course, there are other examples in fantasy series of master and apprentices. Star Wars is a classic here. Qui-Gon, the rather unorthodox Jedi, imparts to Obi-Wan a more flexible interpretation of the Jedi Code, teaching him to trust his instincts. Even though they have their disagreement, their bond is based on mutual respect. And Qui-Gon's death is a pivotal moment for Obi-Wan, which sets him on the path that influences the universe in profound ways. First, as he teaches Darth Vader and fails that apprentice, and later as he teaches Luke Skywalker in a path of redemption. I also use the master and apprentice style of education in my world of the Kingkiller Chronicles, although in my world it's tied up in the nobility, and my apprentices are pages who serve their sash fathers and mothers. They are effectively children who are fostered out to other nobles who teach them not just how to govern, but also how to use their magic. Indeed, this relationship is central to Isabella, one of the point of view characters in The Ducal Heir, and to my upcoming novel, The Lion Vessel. Isabella is a 10-year-old girl when we meet her, and she becomes the page of herself, Duchess Claire de la Roche, one of the most powerful mages in my world. This relationship between Isabella and herself allows me not just to illustrate Isabella's magical education, but also to explore herself's personality and the events that shaped her through the lens of her student, Isabella. The mentor relationship is absolutely key to an effective master-apprentice system. Different mentor relationships can lead to very different outcomes. A benevolent mentor like Kaigon can instill a strong sense of duty and morality in their student, while a manipulative mentor like Justin can lead to a more wary, independent, or even rebellious magician. This depth of character development and personal history can be used to great effect in a narrative, driving conflict, shaping motivations, and influencing character growth. The master and apprentice system offers a uniquely personal lens through which to explore the larger magical world. And if you enjoyed that discussion of the master-apprentice system, hit the thumbs up button. And let's talk about schools as education vehicles. In many fantasy worlds, learning magic or any skill starts at a specialized school. This is true for Trudy Canavan's Magician series, for Rochelle Mead's Vampire Academy series, and for Sky High, the movie with a school for superheroes. Now, I did already make a whole video on magic schools, which you can check out in the information card, but in a larger context, a school offers a more impersonal education than the master-apprentice system, but one which is more easily regulated and standardized. Indeed, in Trudy Canavan's Magician series, schools replaced the master-apprentice system because that system had failed in controlling a rogue mage, leading to the rampant abuse of blood magic. So, a standardized schooling system was brought into being. When creating a magic school, there are some key components that you should be aware of. In a world that supports a school system for teaching magic or skills, one important aspect is that there must be some level of societal acceptance and understanding of magic. If magic is widely accepted or is an integral part of society, then the idea of a school for teaching such skills becomes plausible. This reflects in the fantasy world of Sky High, a movie where superpowers are not only accepted but also expected, and a formal education is created for superpowered beings to learn how to control and use their abilities. In a world like Sky High, which primarily focuses on humans with powers, the school would likely have a significant emphasis on helping students understand and control their individual abilities. And this might involve learning to use powers responsibly, understanding the limits of their abilities, and perhaps even dealing with social and emotional aspects of having powers. Here, you can expect a clear curriculum, certified teachers, and even a governing body that oversees the education of these unique individuals. On the other hand, in a world where magical beings or monsters are the norm, like in the Monster Academy series, education might be more focused on coexistence and societal roles. This would include mastering inherent magical abilities or monstrous features, but also learning about the history of their species, their place in the world, and how to coexist with other species. Even in a magical school, like Professor X's school in the mutant universe, you would still have something that needs to kind of accept that these abilities exist. You need to have a wide enough acceptance within either the secret community of mages or the larger society as a whole, because without that acceptance, you can't have a school. A school needs to be supported by the understanding of people who would send their children to be educated at the school. More, it also needs funding, either from a rich patron or from society's taxes or in the shape of school fees. And whatever supports your school, whatever funds your school, is also going to affect its admission. Indeed, admission to such schools could be a matter of birthrights, particularly in a world where magical abilities or monstrous traits are inherited. Or admission could be based on a testing system or some other form of selection. But how children are admitted to school can have broader societal implications. For instance, if only certain elite get access to magical education, this can create societal rifts and play into themes of privilege and inequality. The existence of a magical school has broader implications for your world, affecting everything from societal structure to politics. So don't just create a magical school. Think about the society that exists that allows such a school to come into being. And if you enjoyed that exploration of magic schools, hit the thumbs up button, and let's talk about magical universities. In a fantasy world that supports a magic university, it is more likely that magic is not just accepted, but deeply integrated into the fabric of society. The idea of a university implies that magic is not just a skill to be honed, but a subject to be studied and explored in depth, much like any other academic discipline in our world. It also suggests a well-developed infrastructure and likely a mature society that has evolved with magic as a significant part of its culture. The university in Patrick Rothfuss's Kingkiller Chronicles presents a world where magic is recognized as an academic pursuit and studied with the same depth and complexity as any other discipline. The story portrays a world that is rich in history, culture, and scholarly pursuit, with magic as an integral component of society. In such a publicly known magic university, you'll likely see a variety of magical disciplines, each having their own department or school within the university. The curriculum could be designed to be very structured, with students needing to meet certain prerequisites before advancing to higher level classes. Research could play a crucial role here, with faculty and students alike exploring the boundaries and possibilities of magic and contributing to the ongoing growth and evolution of the magical disciplines. Now, this is a university that supports magic as a discipline. There is a different kind of university, like in the Percy Jackson universe, you have the university in New Rome, where demigods may go to learn kind of standard college level subjects, not magic per se. But this is because the outside world, the non-magical world, is not ready to cope with demigods, and they struggle in the normal education system. So the university in New Rome offers them not a magical education, but a normal education for magical entities, which is a different approach, but also an important one. If your magical entities, your magical beings, kind of innately use their magic, like in the Percy Jackson universe, where they don't per se have to learn magic beyond their abilities that they learn in Camp Half-Blood, which we'll talk about a little bit later, but they do need a normal education, then providing such a college where there's normal subjects, but it's taught separately from the real world to give them the opportunity to get that normal education is also a viable education strategy and provides you with a very, very interesting setup for your world. But a magical university, a university where magic is taught, implies that magic can be advanced through research and study. It's not just a talent that people have. So if you're setting up a magic university, bear that in mind when you're constructing your magic system. And if you enjoyed that discussion of magical universities, hit the thumbs up button, and let's talk about using extracurricular activities as an education vehicle. In a system where you use extracurricular activities, you would have a less structured and more experimental magic education system. This is well suited for practical, action-orientated magic systems or settings where magical skills are applied in real-world scenarios. This method of learning is often seen in organizations such as adventuring guilds, magical creature conservation groups, monster hunting agencies, or secret societies protecting magical artifacts. A great example of this is Camp Half-Blood in the Percy Jackson universe, which serves as a training ground where young demigods learn to control their powers, fight monsters, and survive quests. The education here is more haphazard and practical than, say, a formal school. Lessons are taught on an as-needed basis. The advantage of this kind of extracurricular system lies in its flexibility and the opportunity for hands-on learning in real-world scenarios. However, it also has its drawbacks, such as the lack of structure, potential for danger, and a heavier reliance on self-guided learning. Still, the variety and spontaneity it offers can make for an exciting, dynamic narrative, as well as unique and independent characters. If you're building an extracurricular activity-based education system, I'd look at organizations from our world like the Scouts or Martial Arts Club or really any sports club not associated with a school. Scouts, for example, have badges for learning skills, which you could adapt to badges for learning certain magical skills or monster fighting abilities. Or the martial arts club system with like the karate belt system, as well as trophies from tournaments, could provide a great way to track both education and status in your extracurricular setup. I think that this is actually a way underutilized education system, especially in urban fantasy worlds. You can have this be a secret organization that kids join when they're young and they learn magic alongside going to a normal school. I think that that would make for a really interesting urban fantasy education, a sort of magical scouts, if you will. And if you enjoyed that discussion of extracurricular activities, hit the thumbs up button, and let's talk about old reliable, religion as an education system. Magic, or any other skills or knowledge, can also be taught as part of a religious education. Two great examples of this is Trudy Canavan's Age of the Five series and the Warhammer 40k universe. The teaching of magic is interwoven with the teachings of the faith, and magic users often serve in religious roles. This approach can create a unique dynamic where magic, faith, and politics intersect, providing a ripe ground for societal conflict and character development. Our two examples take very different forms, but the end result is the same. Let's take a deeper look. In Warhammer 40k, psychers, individuals with psychic abilities, are both feared and venerated. The black ships of the Inquisition seek out psychers of the Imperium, and they face a pretty grim future. They are either soul-bonded and fed to the Emperor to preserve his life, or they are trained and sanctioned to serve in various capacities, including as battle psychers in the military. This system is brutal and authoritarian, reflecting the larger universe's grim dark settings. Control is the primary aim here, as unsanctioned psychers are considered dangerous and heretical due to their potential to be possessed by chaos entities. In Trudy Canavan's Age of the Five series, this is presented in a more benign fashion, but it is still controlling. In this setting, the five gods are the only legitimate source of magical power, and the Circleans are trained to wield their gifted powers in the service of the gods. Though this education is less brutal than that of the Psychers, it still aims for control, as the religious hierarchy sanctions and guides the use of magic. This softer approach also serves to maintain the status quo and curb potential misuse of magic, much like the more violent methods used in Warhammer 40k. In both cases, religious control of magic education serves to limit and direct the use of power, presenting a unique dynamic for character development and conflict. Characters may struggle with the moral implications of their power, question their faith, or come into conflict with their society's power structures. Despite the differing methodologies, the key similarity lies in the primary objective: control and sanctioning of magical powers to maintain societal stability, protect their realms, and uphold their belief systems. The tension between individual freedom and institutional control presents ample opportunity for dramatic narrative and some really rich world building. In the end, the method that you choose to impart magical skills in your fantasy world depends on your magic system, your world's culture, your history, and your societal structures. The method can affect not just the character's learning and experience, but also their relationships with each other and their society. There is no right answer here. Pick the method that fits your world and your magic system. And those are my thoughts on providing a magical education. Don't forget to check out the merch store on your way out. And if you enjoyed this video, you might also enjoy my video on using contract magic systems for fantasy worlds. And I will see you soon for another episode.